Hello, and welcome back to Mystery of Rathe. The following is a recap of all the stories, areas, and characters introduced in the first Flesh and Blood set, Welcome to Rathe. This first set introduced us to 4 areas and 4 heroes, which each got an origin story written by Nicola Price. As always, those stories are the property of Legend Story Studios, and I am here just to narrate them. You can always find a full narration of the stories on my channel, or you can read them yourselves on the Flesh and Blood TCG website, through the link in the description. But now, please, enjoy this Welcome to Rathe lore recap. The first area we're introduced to are the Savage Lands, an ancient primal jungle filled with poisonous plants, treacherous landscapes, and most importantly, bloodthirsty and vicious beasts. One of those beasts is Rhinar, a massive humanoid creature called a Brute. When he was born, he was just a small pup at the mercy of the Savage Lands. However, he quickly grows stronger and becomes a true force to be reckoned with. During his hunts, he collects stings from his prey, eventually making a protective hide and a spiked club for himself. With the aid of his new tools and the increased strength of adulthood, he carves out a part of the Savage Lands as his territory, an area where only he may hunt, a law he punishes by death. However, knights of the nearby city of Solana have started to explore the Savage Lands, and, whether by bravery or by ignorance, dare enter his territory. This insurrection, however, they pay for with their lives. In an all-consuming rage, Rhinar crushes, beheads, and kills them, after which he bellows to signal the savage land of the birth of an apex predator. We also discover the fantastical land of Aria, a peaceful land that is fully separated from the rest of Rathe. The landscape of Aria is shaped by the flow, a wild and unpredictable force of nature. This flow makes Aria a plentiful land, where its inhabitants can live carefree, building a culture rich in music, entertainment, and celebration. One manifestation of this culture is the Everfest Carnival, a traveling circus hosting the greatest performances in all of Rathe. One such performance, the Legendarium, is performed by Bravo. Bravo is a charismatic and confident strongman, wielding Anatus, his beloved mallet. One day, however, his carefree life is interrupted by a call from the Wayfarers. Together with 2 fellow strongmen, Gawain and Morgan, he leaves for the Fractal Scar. On their travels, they encounter more travelers than usual heading in the same direction as themselves. While they didn't yet know of the dangers they would face at the Fractal Scar, an increasing sense of urgency began to dawn on them. And for good reason, as when they came closer to their destination, villages were abandoned and destroyed. They learn the cause of this destruction are the Dracs, feral creatures that emerged from a massive crack in the earth near the Fractal Scar. The Wayfarers called on them to protect the villages from the Dracs' attacks, and eventually drive them back to the hole they came from. The climax of this quest came with a massive battle between a horde of Dracs and all the people who answered the call of the Wayfarers. During this battle, with Bravo on the brink of succumbing to the assault of the Dracs, he discovers his ability to harness the flow and imbue his mallet with elemental energies. Using this newfound power, they make quick work of the Dracs and return the peace to Aria once more. However, with the flow now unstable and appearances of connections between Aria and the rest of Rathe, this event seems only the beginning of the coming change to the land of Aria. In Mysteria, a land of mountain ranges and concealed behind a veil of mist, we meet Katsu. Katsu is the leader of the Mugenshi clan, one of the hidden households of Mysteria. While they wish to stay isolated from the rest of the inhabitants of Mysteria, an ancient curse that afflicts their people beckons them to search for outside aid. Katsu, tired of the inaction of the clan's grandmasters, leaves by himself in search of solutions. On the 3rd day of his travels, he is ambushed by a group of members of the Aoi Scales, a clan who seems to know much more about the Mugenshi than their isolation should have allowed. Heavily outnumbered, there seems no chance of victory here, until a group of crimson-clothed men spring to his aid. They introduce themselves as the Crimson Haze, a sworn enemy to the Aoi Scales. With a seemingly common enemy, they form an alliance. The Crimson Haze were going to ambush a stronghold of the Scales containing powerful artifacts. Maybe there is one that might aid Katsu. Katsu agrees, infiltrating the stronghold alone to clear the way and search for the artifacts. He, however, finds only a library full of ancient scrolls, and with it, an ambush by a Grandmaster of the Aoi Scales. While Katsu is able to fend off this attack, the sound of an alarm beckons more members of the Scales to surround him. Again, with seemingly no chance of escape, the Crimson Haze came to the rescue once more. This time, however, something more grim seemed to have occurred, as they simply slit the throats of their enemies, even those who were already defeated and defenseless. It became clear the Crimson Haze just used him as a distraction to further their own immoral goals. With this, it seemed clear this would again turn into a nasty confrontation. This time, however, Katsu had the advantage, as for some time now he had sensed the presence of his clan's grandmasters. Revealing themselves was enough to make the Crimson Haze retreat. They explained that while they felt it was not yet the right time to reveal the Mugenshi to the outside world, Katsu leaving alone made it the right time, and thus they followed him. While the library they secured didn't contain any of the artifacts the Crimson Haze had promised, it did have a wealth of information which could prove useful to aid them with curing their curse. The last area Welcome to Rathe introduces is the grand city of Solana, a beautiful city of light devoted to the light of soul. The hero we follow here is Dorinthia Ironsong, the only child in a family of master blacksmiths. She would also become a blacksmith, as would be confirmed by the awakening ceremony. In this ceremony, Sol reveals the child's divine blessing by illuminating the matching item in a special room within the solarium. At Dorinthia's awakening, she thus expects a blacksmith's hammer or anvil to light up, but instead, hundreds of swords begin to shine, circling around her. One sword in particular stands out to her, Dawnblade. She is proclaimed a prodigy swordsman and immediately begins her training with the Hand of Sol. During her training, she makes friends with two fellow trainees, Valeria and Felix. After 6 years of training, during the Solstice of Laurels, they get assigned to a party to commence their first quest. Thea, together with Valeria, got assigned to the party led by a Templar named Hala. While they started by just patrolling villages and helping those in need, eventually the party gets called to the outskirts of the Savage Lands. With an increase in attacks from beasts coming from the jungle, it came to the Hand of Sol to protect the surrounding villages and search the Savage Lands for information. One day, when Thea's party returned from patrol, they find their camp ransacked, signs of a brutal massacre apparent. While scholars gave the orders to guard the camp and just wait for the other parties to return, Dorinthia feels this wasn't right. They couldn't just leave the other parties to their fate within the Savage Lands. But, with there being no action taken, Thea decides to go into the jungle herself. This would, however, prove a grave mistake. While she does find the captured knights, she's unable to save any of them. Even worse, Hala and Valeria get badly wounded in an attempt to help her escape from the pack of brutes, and 4 of her party members even die trying to make up for her mistake. When she returns to Solana, she feels ashamed, the toll of her actions weighing heavily upon her. However, with the next Solstice of Laurels, she is promoted to lieutenant, and swears that despite her grave mistake, she would serve Sol and protect Solana as a true warrior of light.